Qualified, and I'm pretty excited because we have another installment of our series, So You Want to Be a Zookeeper. And I have a zookeeper, right? This is Kelsey, and she's going to talk to us today just about her career, how she got to where she is, and we'll ask some questions that you guys might be interested in. So I'm going to start out, Kelsey, by just asking you to tell me like a little bit about your career trajectory, right? How'd you get into the field? What different positions have you had? Take us on a timeline of your life.
Okay, well, I got my degree in wildlife ecology and conservation, and kind of at that time, I thought I wanted to do more of the fieldwork conservation side of things. So when I was in college, volunteered with a National Wildlife Refuge the whole time I was in college. And then my very first internship that I ever did was Fossil Rim down in Texas, and it was animal based. Obviously, I worked in their children's zoo, and it was a really good intro into animal care. And then from there, I kind of started going the conservation route. I worked with the Department of Environmental Conservation in New York for a summer, doing protecting the dunes on Lake Ontario in upstate New York. Which was really fun. We did a lot of like trash pickup, education. We also got to help with their biology department. So we got to do bird banding on different waterfowls and stuff. So that was pretty fun. And then from there, I went to Georgia and did sea turtle conservation, sea turtle nesting on Cumberland Island. That was probably my favorite one. I've always had a passion for like kind of water-based animals. So really enjoyed that. And then I went from there to Alaska. I worked with sled dogs in Denali National Park. So that was kind of like best of both worlds because it was working with 35 sled dogs, but also like teaching people about conservation and actually getting to go out into the park and help with their biologists and stuff. And then from there to the Virgin Islands, where I did some coral reef education and protection staff kind of stuff. That was our title. So that was a lot of education, and then also like we did a lot of data on just like how people interacted with coral reefs when they were snorkeling, making sure they weren't kicking them over since it takes so long for them to develop. And then that's when I had always like intermittently, I'm from Kansas City. So I always intermittently applied for jobs back home. And I said, well, if I got something that I wanted back here, I would eventually move back. And so at the end of that position, I was offered a full-time position back home. So I took that, and it was more in the zookeeping side of things, which I was really excited about too. So that's kind of how I got my first full-time zoo position. I feel like I really lucked out because I hadn't done any internships or seasonal positions at this zoo before. But when my manager that interviewed me at the time really like enjoyed the experience that I had, and also since I was local, kind of took that in and hired me full-time right away. So I feel really thankful for that all the time because I know how hard it can be. And so that kind of started my career there in the zoo field specifically, and I've been at the same place since. So
and how many years is that?
I'm coming up on my 6-year anniversary.
6. So, wow. Okay. 6 years in one place. That never happens anymore, Kelsey.
I know.
Okay. We're going to need to know what the secret sauce is there. But before that, you said 5 internships. Did I count right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And was that because you just wanted to keep having, I mean, you had some really amazing experiences like Alaska, Virgin Islands, sea turtles, even Lake Ontario, like beautiful scenery and amazing stuff. You just wanted those experience, like you were trying to figure out where it was at. Was that kind of why you went through those?
Yeah, and they were all through the same program. It's called the Student Conservation Association, and I really highly recommend it to anybody that's in college because it's aimed at college students trying to get that experience, and they also provide your like housing and travel and a living stipend, so you're not just completely on your own, which is nice. And so the 3 of the internships I did were through that. And so I was really thinking I was going to go the National Park Service route at that point. And it's kind of like the zoo field where it's just really hard to get a permanent job. So the more experience you can get with them, the easier it's going to be to get hired. So I didn't really know if I would ever get hired back home. So I was kind of thinking I was going to have to go that route until I did get hired here. So that's kind of why I did so many different things in the conservation type field.
And say the name of that, Student Conservation Association?
Yes, it's SCA.org is their website. So
cool. That definitely, I know quite a few interns that I've seen come through our ranks that sounds amazing for. So yeah.
And they have all kinds of stuff because they had like, I know they had some different like marine mammal type, stranding type positions and stuff. So there's more hands-on animal stuff. And then there's also a lot of like, just like the trail, like clearing kind of stuff like that, backcountry. So there's a wide variety.
Perfect. Okay, so then you've been at the same place for 6 years. I'm assuming it's been 6 glorious years with no problems and everything's been lovely and easy and right?
Absolutely not. I had some pretty hard growing pains for sure. Especially the first couple of years. I don't know if other people in the field can relate, but I feel like you get so used to jumping around job to job that you don't realize kind of what it takes to stay in one place, and that like, oh, you do have to like build connections and you have to have good habits and different stuff like that. So I just think that kind of, I think I had to break some bad habits for sure and realize that this was the place that I was probably going to be for a long time. And like I was starting my career. So I had to make some pretty big changes for myself in order to really make it a happy place for me.
Yeah. So when you say break bad habits, do you mean like the habits of moving and like always looking for the next thing? Or do you mean that you had to do some introspection and learn how to like communicate and, not necessarily run from a problem, but solve one? Is like, what kind of habits did you have to dive into?
It's definitely a little bit of both. It was at that first year where it was like, wait, I don't get to go to a new place. Like I was kind of really sad about that. I was like, is this just where I'm going to be forever? Like, but then you kind of like get used to it. And like, now I can just go on vacation, just to go on vacation instead of like just having vacations in places. Yeah. So, and like realizing that the longer that I put into the place that I'm at, the more they've put into me, which is crazy. I know. And like, I feel like that didn't really start happening until around 3 or so years that I've been there. So I try to tell people like, give it like 3 years in a place, like you'll start to see some of what you're giving come back. And then bad habits, like, just like you said, like running away from problems, like if you don't get along with somebody on an internship, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be staying there. Like not really ever having to learn how to deal with them necessarily. And then when you get your first full-time job and, you don't always like everybody that you're going to work with. So learning how to process through that. And then something as simple as like, I was somebody who would literally show up right at 8 o'clock. And a lot of times we clocking in like 1 or 2 minutes late. And it just wasn't a good look. And so eventually like I had to reprogram myself and be like, tell myself I have to be there at 7:50, not 8 o'clock. And so that kind of helped. And I remember my manager, he asked me one time, he was like, so like, there's people that are kind of struggling with the same thing. And like, what really like clicked for you to make you start coming on time? And like, that's kind of what I told him, was that I realized that this was my career. And like, if I'm going to be successful, it starts as small as just showing up a little bit early rather than right on time or a minute or two late. So just little stuff like that.
I could have not paid you to say the part where you said, if I invest, they'll be willing to invest in me. I mean, that,
Yes.
angels sing. You're so right. And I talk a lot to people about, mine is the 2-year sweet spot. Like if you're not like at 2 years, that's, I feel like when things start to click, you know, your routine, you start to learn yourself, you learn your teammates, you learn your animals, and you can really go from just like being a zookeeper, right, cleaning things and delivering diets, to like the next level, which I think is a little different for everyone. So for you, what was the next level? Like what was just beyond that routine?
So I started out like that's kind of when I moved into a primary role in my area, because we have the team I was on at the time had a very like big variety of animals, so it was broken down into different routines, and we did have a primary system, and so I got to kind of move into a primary section for great apes, gorillas, and leopards. And so it was kind of a very desired position. And so I was very lucky to be there, because it just kind of happened that enough, we had enough like changes that I was able to take that spot. And then like you're really able to focus on some of your different skills, you know, like animal training. That's when I really started my training career, because I was in a primary position. I really had strong relationships with the animals, and I had built enough trust with my coworkers and my manager that I could kind of start making plans for like that. So um, definitely once you get, like you said, to pass the point of training and like kind of showing that you have good drive and you have good habits, that they kind of start trusting you more to do more with your routine and your animals. So that was year 2 to 3, like I feel like it was a big change.
So is primary a promotion there, or is it just more like you're assigned to this set of animals or something?
It's not necessarily a promotion, but it is like kind of goes by seniority and like skill level. So because like the primary, especially for like the gorilla and leopard section of our team, like somebody that just came in and has been there for 6 months isn't going to be moved into that position, because it is such kind of high maintenance animals that you really have to know their behaviors and different stuff like that. So it's not like a title promotion, but it is kind of a like it's a good thing. I don't know what the word would
be. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. That's something that, while not everybody calls it the same thing, I think in our minds when we enter this field, like, well, maybe not everybody, but I feel like you're like, well, I'm going to be successful when I'm the curator, right? Like that's but the curator leads people, and leading people is a completely different skill set than being a good keeper, right? Like, yes, there's some crossover, but in general, like it's all about communication and coaching and, meetings.
Yeah.
And so you can grow and you can get more responsibility without necessarily getting that formal promotion, I guess, is kind of what the primary role would be. Okay. So speaking of promotions, have you had some promotions in your time, in your 6 years?
Yes, I was just recently moved into, we call them team leads, but it's kind of like the assistant manager position of a different team. So I was on my same team for almost 5.5 years about. So I left that team for something totally different to take this position. So it's kind of scary, but I just felt like it was something I really wanted to do. And I had kind of acquired enough skills and experiences that I felt like I could really help some of the new generation of keepers. So that's, I've been in that position for about 4 months now. So it's very new. Lots of learning.
Yeah. So what's different, like, from being a keeper? It's my dogs that are going to be noisy. What's different about being a keeper to being team lead? Like what, I kind of hit on some of the skills, but do you find that to be true? I mean, team leads are definitely like working managers.
Oh yes, it's been very interesting, especially since I'm new to the team. So like, not only am I learning the ins and outs of leadership now, but like also having to learn all new routines. So just kind of learning all of those skills, like of knowing, you know, what's going on, especially when my manager isn't there and like I am the one that is in charge. And like right now, it's the way that it's set up is my curator and my manager are off on the same days. So have at least 2 days a week where I'm the main person in charge. So having to understand like the different priorities, even though I don't know all the routines on the team yet and stuff, has been a learning experience. And also like kind of, because I like to have really good relationships with my teammates. So kind of trying to find the line between friendships and like having to be in charge and like make decisions and that people might not always like. I haven't had any too bad of like things yet happen yet, but not looking forward to that part because I like to be on good terms with everybody, but I know it's going to come a time where it's not going to be good.
Yep, you can't make everyone happy all the time and it's hard. Yep.
Yes.
I'm with you. That's probably the hardest part of the job. I just want you all to be happy.
Yeah.
Were you passed over for any promotions before you took that lead keeper role? Like, did you apply for anything you didn't get?
Not, I wasn't necessarily passed over for a promotion. There was an opportunity that I really wanted to apply for, but unfortunately at the time there was a lot of stuff happening on our team that ended up, I decided not to apply for it. So, and I feel like maybe if I had talked to my manager at the time about it a little more, I could have decided to apply for it, but I don't know. I feel like that one I just passed myself up for it more than anything else.
You didn't give yourself a chance.
Yes. So that kind of sticks with me a little bit still, but yeah, I hadn't actually applied for any kind of promotion yet until this last one.
This one. And you got it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What kind of like personal development? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, like you started shifting when you got to work and, you know, but were there other things like, did you take classes or read books or, you know, what kind of things have you done to grow yourself as a person so you could be ready for a role like that?
Absolutely. Like professional development is something that is a very big passion of mine. So literally any opportunity that has ever been available, I have asked to go to it or be a part of it. The Kansas City are
Okay, I think you've given it away now.
okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not saying anything. Yeah. My facility has hosted a couple of different workshops, and one of them was an avian incubation workshop, and then the other one was an animal training workshop that I took with you. And both of those times I was like, yes, I want to do it. Yeah. And I mean, the first one I got to go to, I was the second to last on the list, but nobody else wanted to do it. So I got the opportunity, which always blows my mind that people don't sign up for these things. Like, so, and then just things as simple as like my zoo offers every so often, like, I don't know how often they do it, but they'll do like bobcat training, chainsaw training, different stuff like that. So like any opportunity that has been presented to me, I've taken it to add to my skills. And then I have applied, we have a professional development fund that you can apply to go to conferences and stuff. And I've applied, as soon as I met the requirements, I've applied every year. Unfortunately, the first time that I was approved for mine, I applied in 2019 and it was for a conference in 2020. So did not get to go to that one. And then we didn't have funding in 2021. But I did get approved to go this year. So yeah, I'm excited to like finally get to go to my first conference outside of the ones hosted at ours too.
Awesome. And do you feel like, I think there's a little bit of a shifting culture right now. Like when I was starting as a keeper, it was kind of eat, sleep, breathe, everything zoo. Like I would hang out at the zoo all day and then I'd go home at night and I'd research my animals' natural history and watch documentaries and read books and come up with ideas and brainstorm enrichment or build enrichment, I realized that maybe my work-life balance was not fantastic back then. And so I am working on that. But, when did you learn all that extra stuff? Or, you said a lot of it is offered through work, but did you do anything when you got home, or were you able to make these strides without investing a ton of time unpaid?
I would like to say I didn't have to invest a ton of time unpaid, but it is like I did do stuff outside of work, like you said, reading books and I do a lot of the San Diego Zoo Global classes because they're free, different stuff like that and like a lot of it I just do while my husband and I are watching TV at home. Like I'll be reading a book at the same time or like different stuff like that. So but that's just like for me, I want to have the information, I guess. But I did also utilize like my lunch breaks at work too, which are also unpaid, I guess. But I'm at work anyways, and we get an hour. So like reading stuff on my lunch break and different stuff like that. Because I think everybody can relate that it's really hard to find that downtime at work when there's so much that we have that we want to give to our animals. Like, so it's hard.
Yeah. I think it's definitely hard. I'm like you where I don't see that as a chore. Like I enjoy that information. So, it's recreational for me in a way.
Yes.
But I do think, it'll be interesting to see how things change moving forward, because I really do feel like that's a shift where people are like, it is hard. So I'm just going to draw a firm line in the sand and we are not going there, so yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't want people to think that like you can't move up without putting in all the hours and outside of work. You just have to be a little more creative about finding the time to get the information.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't think it's impossible, but it does require really being good at time management and prioritizing, I think.
Yes.
Which sometimes you have to spend time outside of work learning to do that.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for the plug for the workshop. Best workshop you've ever done, right? Absolutely.
Yes, it was. I was sad it was only 2 days. I feel like it could have been like 5 days.
I definitely paid her to say that.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Okay, so what you kind of talked a little bit about it. Like your biggest struggle is just kind of coming onto this new team and building relationships, but finding the line between friend and lead. And is there anything else you're struggling with right now or that you see as an issue in the industry?
I don't, not necessarily that I'm like struggling with. I do have to like also like I'm trying to find the balance between like meeting the needs of like leadership above me and meeting the needs of my team, because I'm sure like a lot of times that looks differently, and I feel like I'm the very first person that like bridges in between those people. So like I don't know, I probably take it on myself a little too much to try and solve problems that I don't have the means to solve. And then I just think that there is a little struggle in like culture in general. People people not feeling valued. So I try to make sure that when I interact with my team, like that I make sure they feel valued in different ways. And then I think there's also kind of a thing with, I don't know if all zoos have it in common, but just how we have teaching moments and how we reprimand in different ways. I think it can be really discouraging, and it kind of creates fear in people at the zoo. So
You are not
I think it'd be
alone in
really
that.
awesome to, kind of start shifting on that and not immediately reprimanding people, but finding different ways that we can like make it more of a learning experience, I guess. I don't know.
I think so much is in the delivery, but I do, we recently at my facility revamped our entire, we call it accountability policy, right? And we had the keepers do it. So it was a workshop, a whole day workshop. They came in, they broke into groups, they talked about what the policy needed to be. And we thought, okay, what kind of, that's awesome buy-in, right? So what we put together is going to be great. And yet people are still fearful, and there's still a fear-based, system in place. So I think that's going to be a conversation moving forward in the industry that we can really all, embrace. I think you and I have tossed around the just culture concept, which Denver Zoo utilizes, I know, and I think there's a couple other zoos that utilize. I unfortunately don't know enough about it to talk about it, but it's something that I want to learn more about. But so much, you talked about like valuing your team members, so much just is in how you like they need to know you care, right? Like, and so if you care and you're giving them a correction, it comes from a much different place than if they don't feel valued or they don't feel like you care about them and then you're giving them the correction. So I think you're well on your way to helping that. What kind of things do you do to help your team to show your team you care about them?
Well, this one's just kind of silly, but like we do alternating one-on-ones every month. So I'll have half the group one month where I meet with them and my manager meets with the other half. And so whenever I meet with them, I have a box of sunshine where it's just got a bunch of random stuff in it, like cute lanyards and boxes of candy and stuff like that. So whenever we have our one-on-one, I let them pick something out from the box. So that's just something kind of silly that I like that I've kind of created between us. And then I'm lucky, like my manager right now, she has a lot of little things that she already does too. Like on our work anniversary, she has everybody submit different comments about the teammate, and then she prints out a cute laminated thing with the comments on it and gives them to people. So I really like that she does that. And then just kind of making sure that they feel heard, like especially when it comes to concerns or like if they have things they need. Like I'm still learning a lot, so I can't offer a ton, but like I do the supply order, so I'm like, is there anything you need that can make your job easier? And get
I will get you a scrub brush.
Yes, I will get you a new scrub brush. So just finding little ways I can make things better and easier like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What advice would you give to a new keeper starting out in the field?
Just to stick with it. Like there was several times in my first 2 years that I was like, I don't think this is the job for me. I got really discouraged by different things, and so just kind of pushed through it. And now I'm like so happy that I didn't leave, and I'm happy that I'm in my position and can see a future now. So sometimes it just, like I said, takes giving it some time and giving yourself some grace. Like I made a lot of mistakes in my time. Like, I mean, hopefully they're never going to be like major mistakes, but we're all human. We make mistakes. So give yourself some grace. You're going to learn from it. And yeah, like give it time. And like I said, if you invest in a place, they're going to invest in you. But if you go to a new place every year, then it's going to be hard to find somewhere that's going to offer you good experiences.
Ugh, that's the quote. That's the quote that's going in the caption, right? Like, oh, I love that.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story with us and your wisdom and what you've learned. It's been super fun. Love hearing about it. I love that you use me and that you email me and that we talk about training. So it's also a plug that I'm here and I like to build relationships with you guys. So I'm glad that I get to have one with you, and I can't wait to see you next time I'm up your way.